Hey, Naughty Cow. Sorry about that. I just realised that as I hit stream, I hadn't got my drink. I'd left it in the kitchen. So, I was just sneaked off to go and get it. So, I need to turn something down because it's really loud in my ear. That's better. Oh, hi, Naughty Cat. So, for those who are watching on YouTube, I am struggling to find motivation. I am struggling to find motivation in anything at the moment. It is partly the time of year as most Brits will tell you, it's been cold, wet and rainy, which is what England does a lot of in winter. And, well, when it's cold, wet and rainy, you have to dig a lot deeper to find the joy. Because on a sunny day, when the flowers are out and the butterflies are flapping about and the birds are tweeting and the little animals are everywhere doing their thing, you can look around, you can find joy, you can stare at the sky and the garden in the warm, watching the clouds go by, feeling chill and relaxed. In winter, you hide under a duvet under 98 layers of kit because you probably can't afford to put the heating on yet, and basically you stare out the window and it's dark most of the time, or thinking about being dark, or almost dark. It is generically wet underfoot, and well, it's everything looks miserable, and well, I've always said this. I have never truly believed in the seasonal adjustment disorder. It's just normal, right? Is that I love snow, right? If there was 6 inches of snow out there, I'd be happy as a pig in poo. I love snow. But there ain't no snow. Although there was some snow in parts of England over the last week or so. But the truth of it is it's not really snow season. And snow doesn't tend to last that long. And I just have been really, really struggling. So, hence, I have not been streaming because, well, frankly, to use my own words, I'm a miserable cow at the best of times. So when I think I'm a miserable cow, it's probably best that I don't. But I've really, really struggled with. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be the tiniest of things. And I want to do it. I really want to do it. Much like I want to see my lace thing done. But the moment I go to actually start it, I can't be bothered. And I'm not overly suffering from my lace thing. Because I really do want to see it done. And I enjoy is possibly not the right word. But I love seeing it once I've made it. I love the fact that I've made it and all of that. As you know, the process to make it is slightly frustrating, especially when I screw it up. But it's a bit like gardening. For any of you who are not particularly gardening fanatics, everyone loves looking at a nice garden with flowers. And that's it. I'm just generically burned out, I think. But it is very much like gardening. Everybody loves looking at a beautiful garden, but few of us have got the energy and the actual wherewithal to make one. Now, obviously, for those of us who are lazy, we drop our standards, but there are still things you have to do to keep a reasonable garden. Otherwise, it turns into a pit of brambles and lions and tigers and bears and things. But sometimes even that can be too much. If someone said to you, if you've got a 9-to-5 day job and you've spent all week working for somebody else, right? And you've got your washing, your cooking, your cleaning to do, you've got, and your garden, and well, that's going to take all the weekend. And you're like, but then I'm back at work. When do I sit down and enjoy anything? When do I... And it's this that kind of, I won't say starts the spiral, but it forms a part of the spiral, because sometimes you just realise that that is all that you do. Is that you do this, you do that, you do everything for everybody else, and at no point do you sit down and go, what do I actually want to do? And like I said, it's not that I don't want to do my lace thing, but it's not just doing the lace thing. It's not that simple. My computer's got to be in the mood to open the stream. I've got to start the stream. I've got to do the stream. Now, you'd think that doing the stream is not a hard thing, because, well, I was going to sit down and do my lace anyway. But it's just one extra thing. And sometimes those one extra things are one extra thing too much. And I am distinctly suffering from everything is one extra thing too much. Frankly, you know, getting up and putting clothes on. I am clothed, by the way. Properly clothed, before you ask. I'm not here in my pyjamas, for I don't own any pyjamas. I do wear some leggings and a t-shirt as a pair of pyjamas, but I don't actually own any pyjamas. But I'm not wearing my t-shirt and leggings either, because, well, that's not a good plan. I am properly clothed, but it is that kind of thing, is that some days, just the idea of even, getting up and putting clothes on feels a really big task. And this is where lots of people who are depressed really struggle. And I don't know whether I'm just burnt out, or whether I'm suffering from depression. I think some of all of the above. I know that a lot of my things are triggered by a level of autism, so that if I had one or the other, I'd probably be alright. Having both is too much. And I think it is frustrating for everybody. And please believe me, I do not think I'm special. It is not a woe is me shenanigans, right? Because I feel for everybody who goes through this, and I've always tried to be really supportive to other people. And in fact, this is going to sound like a strange segue, but sometimes when people have grief, some people, such as myself, actually handle grief better by helping somebody else. Now, it's not really diverting from your own. It's not the masking it. It is finding a way to use it in a more positive manner. And for me, although I do suffer from depression, and with my depression comes levels of paranoia, and I recognise that. Not that I can change it, but I recognise that that's the thing. And occasionally I have caught myself, but not usually. Usually my friend at work has to tell me, and I kind of go, oh shit. Other things I do is when I'm getting a cold, I shout. This is because I don't hear like the rest of you. And so as a result, when I get a cold, and normal people hear through the vibrations going through the skull, I don't. I hear the external noise. Well, when I've got a cold, my hearing goes, because, well, it interferes, ear, nose and mouth kind of thing. It interferes with it, and it means that I don't hear it as well. So therefore I shout so that I can hear it, assuming you can't hear it. Now, I don't consciously do this, but it is not uncommon. Liz, you're shouting. Okay, I must be getting a cold. Is usually the answer. Either that, or I'm just stupidly excited about something, because I do get louder when I'm excited about things. So basically, I come cap in hand of, I am being a bit of a shit streamer and YouTube person recently. I've gone from streaming pretty much every day to once a week, and struggling to manage to do that. So for all of that, I do apologise. Is it going to change? I'd like to think so, but let's be practical. I will when I can. Now, normally, I stream on a Friday afternoon, and that is my one guaranteed a day week. And I didn't stream yesterday because, frankly, I couldn't be asked. It just seemed too big a hill to climb yesterday. But I'm here tonight, and it hasn't seemed such a big hill tonight, so hence we're walking up the hill tonight. Will this be an epically long stream? Probably not. But, like everything, do what you can and what you can't for tomorrow, right? It is a good thing because I do love talking to you guys, and I did think about doing a just chatting stream yesterday. But I don't know, it just didn't seem the right thing to be doing, and so I didn't, because, well, that meant changing things and setting things up, and couldn't be asked to do that either. So the phrase of the moment really is can't be asked. And I'm not going to say some aspects are not work related, because they are. As of Monday? Yeah, as of Monday I think it is. Hang on, need to check the calendar. Hang on. Click on the thing, click out of the thing so you actually show everything. As of Monday, I will have been with my current employer 1 year. And for those who were around for last year, you'll know that this was not a choice I had a say in. And I don't hate my new employer, no more than I didn't hate my last employer. I am struggling with some aspects, however. And I asked a bunch of people that I know and have some level of respect for their view on something. And I was really pleased when, well, frankly, the general consensus was they believed, and I didn't tell them what I thought on the matter. Then they turned around and said that basically they had the same standards I did. So, when we moved to the new employer last year, some of our team did not come with us. Some of them got to stay with the old employer. But they were not supposed to be doing the same job anymore. Now, there was quite a bit of moral outcry at that, because if there were new jobs to be having, we all should have been given the option to apply for them. But that didn't happen. New employer had to replace them with people. So they ditched 2 and we gained 3, so it sounds positive at that point. But 2 were going to be leaving, so we were already going to be losing 1 person. And to an extent, we had hopes that that would probably work out okay. So they got rid of the 2 people, the additional 2 people, so now the group's 4 people down. And a week or so ago, one of the people they brought with them quit. So now we're 5 people down. And one of the problems that we have got is that I used to be a team of 1.5. And my co-worker who texts me a lot was a team of 1.5. We shared a person. We no longer have this person. They were one of the latter 2 people who got removed. And part of the reason they were removed is they were a contractor and on stupid amounts of money. Unlike the rest of us, they were on stupid amounts of money. Which, to be fair, if I, knowing how much one of the 2 people was on, I'm not surprised. Let's put it this way. Their month's salary was more than 2 months of mine. Sorry, their week's salary No, it was a month. Yeah, their month's salary was more than 2 months of mine. Okay, so, and they didn't really seem to do a lot. So I kind of get that they wanted cheaper options. Don't disagree with that. I fully understand the business reasoning behind it. If you're paying that much money for someone, then, you've got to kind of expect that, they want to bring it into people who are cheaper. Get that? Absolutely. But by not replacing either of them, yeah, sure, they saved a lot of money. But we were already a bit tight now. Not that we weren't in the first place, but then we were a bit tight because obviously, well, if I now go on holiday, or I'm sick, or my co-worker goes on holiday, there isn't someone with any decent skill to replace them, to do the work in their absence. Now, the guy who we shared was a unique individual, and he annoyed the shit out of me and my co-worker on occasions. Some of the things that he did do that didn't tell us about, some of the stuff that he said he'd done and hadn't, usual shenanigans. But he was a pair of hands with understanding that could do some tasks reliably without a lot of, hand-holding, parenting and explanation. New guys, now there's only 2 of them, do not fall into that category. And it's a bit like they only speak Japanese or something. And of course, we don't. So they don't, anything you say to them, it's a bit like how I feel at the moment. Anything you say to them feels like a really big deal. To give you an idea, my dad, before he died, had retired for a number of years. And it didn't sit well on him. My dad, like a lot of people, retired with no plans of things to do. Now, if you pick me and Naughty Celt, for example, we've got hobbies. If I was to retire here and now, hallelujah, right, I've got enough hobby shit planned that I will need to be a ghost to continue to actually use all the yarn that I've got and actually do all the projects in my head, right? So, should I retire today? I've got a whole pile of stuff I do want to do, or at least I want to get done before I go, if you see what I mean. And obviously, if I had 40 plus hours a week to do it in, more than I do, and I'm not having to fight, I've done a load of work today, I peopled out and I don't want to do anything. Well, it is a lot easier, maybe not initially, but after a month or so, you get into a bit of, well, now I can do what I want, when I want, how I want, and, well, you start getting things done. And I'm not going to say that for a little while you probably would sit there and just binge watch some TV and sleep half the day, and just because you're getting over all of the crap that you had from before. But I've got hobbies, I've got stuff I want to do. The new hobbies I could try. I mean, dear God, I don't need new hobbies, but hey, there's new hobbies I could try, right? So with all that in mind, I'd love to retire because I've got stuff, right? My dad didn't. My dad sat and watched basically Border Force Police Stop and all the rest of it, tugging on his pipe, and then of course that's what killed him. But to my dad, the idea of literally walking 100 yards up the road, crossing the road twice, because basically the road goes up a bit of a hill. It's not much of a hill, it's pansy hill, to be honest. It's almost insult. It's not even a slope of value, right? But it is a minute slope. You go 100, well, it's not even quite 100 yards up this bit of hill, right? Turn right and literally walk the width, the thinnest thing you've ever seen, and cross. So you've crossed one road, you go through this alleyway, you peer out the other side, cross another road. Neither of them are like big roads, they're quite small. And then you're literally at the vet. That's it. As far as you had to go. taking one dog, which bear in mind he walked further than that to take them to the park, right? Taking dog to the vet in a week was a hectic week. And the people I work with currently remind me of that. So many, I've heard it quite a lot of times. Oh, I'm so busy. Well, you're not doing tickets. You're not helping me. You're not helping my co-worker. Well, what are you doing? Now, I'm not saying they're not doing anything. I am not aware of what they're doing. And I feel, me and my co-worker are having to do lots of things that would normally have been done by missing friend in the middle. Because there's no one around to do the checks, the simple stuff. So we've now got to do that and can't get on with the bigger stuff. And it does mount up. And it's 12 months as of Monday. And yeah, it's the question I posed, the kind of consensus group that I picked was, if you have second and third line engineers, how many weeks before you expect them to be taking tickets and doing the simple ones without assistance? Their answer was 2 weeks, which is what I thought. We're not talking complicated ones. We're not talking, knowing the ins and outs of who's who. And, we're talking reset a password, which is the same, if you do, whether you do Windows or whatever, it's going to be the same wherever you are. You reset it, you tell them what you wrote, job's good, right? They're not doing that. Not for me and my co-worker. Still. And even the simple stuff that's been written down, they can't do it. Shown them it a bunch of times, still can't do it. And it is certainly a lead weight around your neck, because certainly we have, it's not that we don't want them to work on anything. But over the last few weeks, we've now had a bunch of issues with servers at work in my area. And the only answer can be is, having not had a single problem in 5 years, someone did something. First time, all of production rebooted during the day. Which, if you don't understand what production is that's the stuff that the business makes money on. Doesn't matter whether it's an actual factory style thing, but it's what the company uses rather than why all of the IT people work out what's going to happen next. So we've got non-prod and prod. All of prod rebooted during the working day. No notice, no nothing. Well, it's because about 6 weeks beforehand, someone had gone to do the patching, decided it wasn't working, and thought they crashed out of it. Well, they didn't crash out of it, did they? They thought they had, because they closed their session that they had logged into, but it was still running in the background. And unfortunately with Unix, you don't have, like Windows does. When you log in with Windows, because most of you will be Windows users, you log in, at a login screen, and you get a pretty picture and all the rest of it. And that's viewable from the list. Under Unix, you log in via a console. Now, you can list who is logged in. However, processes from your login can remain running even though you log out. A bit like Windows, it can run in background, but it's kind of half in limbo because it can't report it to anywhere, but it still hasn't finished. So when they thought they crashed out, all they did was close the session. Now, unfortunately, with the way that Unix works, when you log back in, you will never resume the old session. So even if they hadn't crashed out, it wouldn't have resumed it anyway. So, again, lack of knowledge, they didn't know. But they also never told anyone that they had crashed out of it. So, of course, it all rebooted, and it took me a while to work out what the fuck had gone on. And the short answer was, because they crashed out of it, something that was waiting obviously timed out, and it went, oh good, I finished doing that, I now need to do the reboot at the end. So it did. Then we had something, not this last week, but the week before, where one of the guys went to do a ticket that was over 2 months old that should have taken about 10 minutes and crashed the whole server. Now, fortunately, it was not production, but if they'd done it when the ticket was due and when it was ready to be done, it wouldn't have clashed with the work that was going on at the time, because we run some security stuff on it, and basically they had to do an update. They had to change one of the settings of it, and when it didn't restart, well, when they wanted to restart it, it didn't restart because it didn't think it was running. But it was rerunning. It was rerunning in a debug mode because we were doing something, and so they forced it, and then 2 copies of it ran, and it killed itself because it's good at that. And so they killed it. Oh, and then went to lunch without saying anything. And then on Monday this week, so I had this week off, and on Monday they'd done patching last Sunday. Well, last month one server died during patching. No one particularly knows why, because it died so hard it died, right? Last month I got it restored, set it up, did a couple of things you need to do to bring it back on the network properly, handed it over, walked away. Well, it had died again, but more importantly, it had died in between me fixing it and the backup. So we don't know quite what killed it, but it was dead, so that when they went to do it again this month, it died. But even knowing that I had it restored last month, they couldn't do it without me. I ended up logging in on Monday afternoon to fix it, because the others had gone to lunch. You don't go to lunch during a P1. No such thing as lunch during P1s. When you've got people telling you they are losing millions by the minute, you do not go to lunch. Your fucking nibble can wait. Especially as they've all got partners who work from home, so could have bought them a sandwich while they were working, you know? Anyway, enough of why Liz is a miserable old cow. Time to do some lacy stuff. So, as I said, kind of not in the mood, but also want to see it done state of mind, which really is a strange place to be. It is definitely the garden thing. I want to look out on a nice garden. I want to enjoy the beautiful flowers and the nice grass, but I don't actually want to do any of the work at the moment. So, but there we go. And I do regret. Yeah, no, I don't do gardening. I utterly don't do gardening. I do pay a man to come and do my garden when he remembers, and I mean that genuinely. So about a month and a half ago, I asked him to come and do the kind of winter stuff for my garden. Yeah, he forgot. He does a lot of forgetting. But I don't hold it against him because he's really damn cheap, so. I mean, let's put it this way. If I have him round for 2 hours to mow the lawn, front and back, and tidy up after himself, it's 28 quid. If I get a different man in just to mow the back garden, well, let's put it this way. Many, many years ago, we had a man who is well known in our area come round and offer to do the gardening. And we went, sure, how much for the, winter chop of a few plants, and literally to chop back about 6 plants and take the rubbish away. He wanted nearly £700. Everyone around here is a fucking piss taker. It's a bit like I had a tree outside my old house, and it was fairly tall, could do with a trim. Didn't need it. It wasn't a point of being a problem, but it could have used a trim. Guy wanted to quote me £700 because it was a day's work. Do you know how long it actually took him? Half an hour. And I said, I thought you said it was a day's work. Well, it is. And I went, but you're done. It's like 40 minutes later. And he went, oh yeah. I said, so that's not a day's work. He was a bit of a shit, so. Centralise that a little bit more for you. It's really not, is it? Once again, the knobble of my table is pointing straight at my leg. Ugh. By the way, I still haven't found that other little wooden thing. I had a good look for it. Don't know where it's gone. So now I'm a bit screwed when it gets to here. What happened to it? I wonder if it had Doggety assistance. The downside to this, occasionally the bobbins can make a run for it. That's one thing I haven't missed. Moving my leg and discovering my hip has died, which I've just done, and it actually worked. I moved my leg rather than went ow. I know what we haven't done for a while. We haven't had, oh, I would say better music, but I'm not sure that's kind of the right words for it, but, you know. So, let me go and do the usual with this. So, we need to go to here and do this. Click. No. Now I'm going to do that and turn on out that and turn on that. Right, so you should have no music right now. And then we go back here and we pick this one. I wouldn't call that rock, but there we go. That's better. That's the point. Did anyone go to Audible after our last conversation and actually look at the all cast Harry Potter? For goodness sake. Time for a drink. one thing I do regret is when I wound these bobbins, of actually winding them at the top. It does hold very well. But basically it's super glue, let's truly be honest here. It is basically super glue, so but yeah, metal on metal, it does seem to hold pretty well. Considering, as you well know, that these little beads here that the ball bearing rests on are just tubes. So as a result, it's not like the bead's got a lot that it can be glued against. It's only got where it touches that little bit of tube. So it's not even got the surface contact. It's not like, you know, if it was a flat surface and you put a circle on it, you can build like a little mount for it out of super glue. You know, you put a blob on and go, and it'll, you know, be a big cylindrical bob at the bottom with like a shaped cup for it. But yeah, I mean, we have had a few fall off. Mainly the ones that we tried hot gluing. So I'm sorry, Americans, hot glue is a pile of shite. It has purpose for some things, do not, but well, if you think of like these, it's the equivalent of this end, although this end is flush with the wooden stick. The other end I didn't do flush. And so, mainly because you might recall I had to sand down these ends to get them in the holes, because these were technically a bit small. So they were kind of, to be honest, I expected all of these last kind of tubular beads to fall off, because they truly were, you know, sandpaper down the piece of wood so it's a bit rounded, put a loop of super glue around it and poke the bead on it. I mean, I truly expected them to fall off. But it is going okay. God, I hate this song. Yeah, you are in the wrong hole. Should be in there. Kind of running out of batteries. We've done a reasonable chunk so far today, considering how little time we have been doing it. Much more of our usual pace. I think that's actually also one of the other things that added to my kind of lack of enthusiasm, was that we'd do like a 2-hour stream and I'd have done naff all. Actually, well, we passed inch 7, so it's about time I update that, I guess. let's update that for starters, because we are not in inch 6 anymore. I'll do that in a minute. Decided to update itself in the middle. Well done. I don't care what you've changed. No. No, definitely not. Actually, what did make me laugh, I don't know if she's here, is that Christy's going through watching all of my videos in order. Now, bear in mind, Christy makes lace. Christy makes lace, so Christy is catching up ever so slowly. Or if, I mean, I'm sure she's quite grateful I haven't posted so much recently, because I think she's on like video number 12, so she's got a chance catching up a little bit. But yeah, I've said to her it must be pretty boring listening to basically me moan and her, you know, when she already knows how to make lace and all the rest of it. But she seems to be enjoying watching them, so it does seem apparently that I am somewhat flooding the market on YouTube, because obviously until very recently I've been posting nearly every day. Apparently sort of bobbin lace brings up plenty of me, which makes me feel a bit self-conscious really, because obviously, you know, me and my very uncheery disposition hardly, you know, I mean, I know I put them up on YouTube, and I do it so that people who have missed can go back and look, but I don't expect you to watch from every single one, you know? To be honest, if it's not this week's and you just happen to wanted to catch up on, you know, general gossip and chatter, I almost don't see why you'd watch it, you know? I like a good bit of Bruce Springsteen. What happened to him? Is he still going? Well, that's obvious. He was touring last year, so... To be honest, he's... you know how, like, a lot of pop people don't age very well? That, you know, you see them sort of, like, later in life in some picture and you go, Jesus Christ, he's doing pretty well, actually, by the looks of it. I mean, boomer style, but that's not bad, you know, considering he's no youngster. I mean, fuck me, really? Excuse my French. He was born 2 years after my dad. Almost to the day. Bear in mind, my dad's been gone 6 years. Hey, 76. Blimey. It's looking in reasonable shape for it though. Christ. Backing looking pretty reasonable for his age. But yeah. Christ's sake. This is when I start making mistakes, because I'm constantly stopping to rewind things on and then forget where I got up to. Now, a lot of it is down to tension. You do need a level of tension to have the bobbins do their thing, but even so. So I'm sure Naughty Cat will attest, a thread under tension is controlled. Fuck off. Have some more drink instead. I didn't go to the opticians either. I meant to. Just never happened. Oh, that's a good thing. That was nice of you, that was. And I still can't hear this without thinking of Doctor Who. Is this episode 2? I think it is. Episode 2. Hang on. Episode 2 of the Chris Eccleston stuff, not forever, obviously. Where's my browser window gone? Is that it? That'll do. Yeah, it's episode 2 of Chris Eccleston. They declare it as series 1, so. So, I do apologise in some ways, but I'm gonna kind of stop about here. Partly so I go to bed while it's still the same day that I got up on, which is something I've been not doing recently. But I clearly need the sleep because I'm moody old bat. So I'm going to cut it short while I'm still good and while before my bobbins drive me too insane. But we have achieved, which is a good thing. And it has been, as always, lovely to have you all here. As I say, it's a bit chaotic usually. There you go. But I've had fun is not always the word, as you can tell by the cursing and the swearing. But I have made progress. I am pleased with that. What else have I been up to? I've been practicing tatting a bit more. She says, quickly grabbing her tatting tin. It's a bit like Mummy's old button drawer, really. But not that one. I am kind of, but then I've been going for nearly 2 hours. Oh, it's only an hour and a half. Okay, so there's that one. And that one. These are all ones I have done since I last spoke to you. So this is me trying out various aspects. Let me zoom it in, because after all, they're not that big. Dunk. Right, so... Oh, they almost fit on screen. Hang on. Let's shuffle them together a bit more so they do. There you go. This one looks a bit out of shape, but there we go. So this is a smaller thread. These two are the same, but they're looking a lot more similar, for want of a better word. But they're certainly looking a little bit more even, slightly less dog-eared, although that's a bit of a hack. Occasionally these onions go a bit wonky for me, and I haven't quite worked out what it is when they go wonky, because you can see that one's got the same problem. It's because the loop sort of twists a bit, and I don't quite see why, because sometimes they're flat and sometimes they're not. The joins are improving. This was a good one. This was not. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with how they've turned out. This looks a bit of a munge. It's not. It's just the way it's lying, but they do look a lot more even. I'm certainly pleased with that. So I'm kind of pleased how that's going. This could be better. I mean, I'm not unhappy with it. Got to tidy this up, but I'm not unhappy with it. Just not overly happy either. There's various aspects of it that look a little bit weird, like this corner looks a bit, and that looks a bit weird too, for some reason. So yeah, not my best, but it is a smaller thread. This is small enough after all. I mean, the thread's actually quite large in comparison to what I'm using for lace making. But when you're talking about tiny knots, and of course technically, I'm sure Nautica will correct me that they're hitches, but for the rest of the world, they're knots. So I do know better, Nautica. I'm just being lazy. But for the knots that you do, they do call them knots as well. But, you know, to be making lots of tiny little knots, I mean, to give you an idea, that bit from there to there is 5 full hitches, so not half hitches. So there's one half, then the other half. So there's 5 full hitches, 6 between there and that little spot there, another 6 between that and there, and 5 between there and the bottom. So there's quite a lot of hitches, to be honest. And when it comes to these loops going round, there's 10 between the bottom and the top, and then there's calculation approach 13 between where it joins and the bottom each way. So there's 26 all the way around the edge. So there's quite a lot of hitches, to be honest. It's there is quite a lot. And obviously technically there's a right side and a wrong side. But I am quite pleased how these generally have turned out. And obviously I could have joined them, so they'd have looked something like that. But at the moment I'm just making little squares for practice. I got actual Ariana Vega thread from Italy, because they seem to be the only buggers who actually sell it. And this stuff, although this is very solid, as you can tell, it doesn't really droop. The actual thread is softer than that other stuff that I got that was supposed to be the same but isn't. And in fact, I think that's the isn't and that's the is, because you can actually feel a difference. I just happened to have sewed the ends on this one, which was the last one I made. And it looks a bit neater, so it's more, you know, except for that bit down there. Wouldn't be me if I didn't fudge a bit, wouldn't it? But yeah, kind of doing all right with that. Certainly keeps me quiet when I'm in meetings. Stops me getting gobby in meetings. It's always a good point. So yes, Mika Ketsme, I'm truly sorry. I am gonna run away. I don't know quite when you snuck in, but I am sorry if I'm leaving only as you joined. For those who have been around for a little bit, thank you for joining me. I will try and stream again tomorrow. But like I've said a few times, I don't want to force it and make it feel like a chore. I want to do it because I want to do it. After all, I am streaming because I want to, not because I need the money. Well, not that you get a lot of money from doing it, but you know what I mean. It's not like a job where I've got to do it to pay the bills. This is something I'm doing out of choice. And if I don't choose to do it and I make myself, it'll feel like a job, and I don't want to resent it, because then I'll just stop and never do it again. So I do hope people will forgive me for lack of streaming. That's okay, Nautica. I'm sorry you don't get notifications. If I remember, I will try and message you. But it is difficult, I think, because I'm just a few shades of miserable, Mika gets me. I'm just a few shades of miserable. Not savagely miserable, not kind of crying into my pillow or nothing, but as I explained at the beginning of the stream, I just, literally anything feels like a big hill to climb. And, well, let's put it this way, 9 working days till the end of the year. Not that I'm counting. 4 days this week, 5 days the week after, and done. So, but then it's only 2 weeks off, which is a bit shit. Because normally I have most of December off to recharge, and I enjoy that. But my current employer decided to deny that option after 4 months' notice and not mentioning it. So as I said to my co-worker, it's just as well I hadn't planned a holiday and paid for it, because if you I put it in June or July, possibly June, certainly around the beginning of July, possible. I think it was the end of June, and they only told me with a handful of weeks to go, almost to the point it was very difficult to spend my holiday and meet their criteria. I would have had not this week off, the previous week, but my co-worker was off, and as discussed earlier, there ain't enough of us left to be doing that kind of shit. Some of us someone has to be around to do the work, so yeah. It's been a bit frustrating, and in my own way, I know I'm better than I should be. So I'm at the kind of point where I know I've explained this a few times, or tried to explain this, possibly tried and failed, but is more accurate. There are times when I am thoroughly depressed and don't know about it. There are times where I am thoroughly depressed and I know about it. There are times when my brain is aware that I'm depressed, but thinks that I'm mostly getting away with it. Okay? So there's a few levels of where we're at. And then, of course, there's the I don't really know about it, and I think and so my brain's telling me it's all good, and I'm convinced that everything's all good, but it's not. And I'm in the I am protecting myself because I am aware that I'm kind of teetering on the edge. One step in the wrong direction could be a big fall, and I don't need to go there again, hopefully. I had a bit of a trip up, as you may recall, earlier this year. But I think, again, in part, that was my brain almost overreacting in a protective manner. So although I was pretty miserable, I actually reckon I'm more miserable right now, but I'm in a better frame of mind about it, if that makes sense. I haven't heard this for ages. This brings back memories, this does, of sleeping in a tent, of all things. Anyway, in a very, very soggy field in August. Yeah, it was not one of my wisest decisions, that. Anyway, because it was post-car accident, so I was very immobile, yeah, and sleeping on hard mud really didn't help. Sorry, just kind of try not to sing along, but sing along with yourself. Anyway, so yeah, I actually think I'm possibly more depressed than I was when I took the time off work. Can't take the time off work, really. And I need to go and do some research, because there's something weird on my timesheet. But yeah, I think my brain's trying to protect itself. So, the whole kind of curl up in a corner and haven't been doing any of that, but I've just been kind of staring at the walls, actually. But for those who do remember, in some of my spare time, such as I have, I do try and write computer programs, and I will say that something I have procrastinated about for... Well, I've had the idea and I wanted to do it for about 6 years. Finally got around to it this week. Really wasn't as hard as my brain was making out. But you know how, like, sometimes bit like lace making. If someone said to you, make lace, and you've never seen any of my videos, you'd expect it to be arse-numbingly complicated. Because when you look at it, it's this intricate section of no knotted, crisscrossy, twisty things. How the hell, right? But now you've seen it done a bit, you're probably more inclined to give it a go. And basically, I wanted to add skill to a game. Now, I didn't just want to add, you can now cast Fireball. It's not that simple, by the way. But in essence, let's take Fireball, right? Because that will be a thing. So, swordy, swordy, sword, smacky, smacky, mace, pokey, 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 stabby thing for piercing, Fireball, healing, root or whatever for earth, you know, stun for wind, for example. Because I tend to think of earth, wind, air and fire, right? Although that was a wind twice. Earth, water, air and fire. So the 4 elements, right? Rather than conjuration, abdication, divination and whatever the other one is, right? I don't think of it like that. I tend to think of earth, wind, air and, you know, earth, wind, water and fire. So, let's say stabby sword, right? Slashy slash. So, you wake up, you've got a sword. Or bare hands even, right? So you got to go and punch something. Well, if you've never hit anything before, chances are you're going to make a bit of a klutz job of it. Now, you might hit them, but you're probably going to hurt yourself. You're probably going to miss if they're any decent. So the idea is that while you have levels of skills, so you're level 1, but you have competency in that level. So you have a skill cap of, say, 5 a level, which is common in MMOs. And then, so you can gain, like, swords, you know, slashing from 1 to 5 is level 1. 5 to 10 is level 2, right? Well, 6 to 10 is level 2. So, and if you change, say, at level 4, you start at 0, because, well, you've got no, of bashing, you've got no blunt skill, but you might have an attack skill. So whereas when you first started you had no skill, now you've got better at generally fighting and better at generally slashing things. Well, now you've got an advantage because you have a better attack skill to pick up another skill. And will improve quicker because of that. And I have finally implemented it. Is it good yet? Not really. Is it working? Well, technically, yes. But there is room for improvement. But I have now got all of this in. So I've got my caps in. I've got it affecting my skill ups. I've, you know, and then slightly affecting battle. Not as much maybe as I'd like. But I've got levels in. I've got experience points in. I've got lookup tables in. And I did all of that. Well, I had a conversation with AI at 5 o'clock in the morning. I think it was Tuesday. And we discussed if I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that and I wanted to do the other, and well, how would that affect this? And it runs simulations, which is actually quite good. So you can say to it, if to get a skill up, you have a general clamp between 0.05 and 0.95. So you've got a 5% chance of nothing at the beginning and 95 at the top. And out of 100, obviously, and you got percentage chance, basically a 90% chance for skill up, and that's affected then by one skill per can I go up 1 skill point at a time, something it really struggled with, and then it's not based on total experience, it's per level, and we had this long conversation about how so how many mobs would it take to get to level 10 as an inexperience if the XP is logarithmic? And the answer, when it got to about 32,000, it was like, well, okay, so if each fight is about 2 minutes and you regen at 2 hit points every 6 seconds or something, and and obviously you don't instant heal at the end of a fight, it has to come back. How long would it take to get to level 10? And it went sort of like 23 days. And I'm like, no, that's too long, computer. We need a little bit more speed and dopamine than that. And so I was having conversation with it about how to make it a decently logarithmic star progression, but without it being ball achingly painful. And what could I do to flatten the curve a little bit, but still leave it as a curve? And you know how many hit points should it have, and what it ran it against a hero and a goblin, and it was great because it would show you, right, here is the progression, and it was things like, so with a skill cap of 5 per level, if I've got up to 60 levels, right, and I wait till level 50 to learn burgeoning, how quickly would I catch up? And it kind of went, oh, well, you'd need to be level 100. And I went, no, it needs to catch up more than that. And so we had, tuning conversations. And it was the fact, the one thing I did find really useful was that I could show it my code and tell it to run all the simulations. Rather than me writing 8 million fucking unit tests and running them all. And I could tell it to fabricate the fights and outcomes. And I did find that really useful. I'm not a big AI fan normally, but I did find it really useful to be able to have a conversation like we do. Have that, like we did when we were having a conversation about something and we all learn a few bits of grammar. It was that style conversation. To sit there and see, well, so if you've got this and you've got that and we've set this to this and that's that and, done all of that shit, how long would that take? And it was like, oh, that'll take 6 hours. Okay. 6 hours a solid place. Maybe a little long for a... Okay. And it was that kind of conversation. So it was quite good for that. Actual code, piece of shit. Fucking useless, crappy pile of wank, frankly. But in terms of principle, so I had to do the heavy lifting. Thanks for that, AI. But it was very good to do some of that. And I think if I give it the opportunity, it'll probably generate me some nice unit tests to go with it. And maybe some unit tests that will do a few, again, that kind of, if you regen at this rate and this is true and all the rest of it, how long would it take? And it can do some calculations and, basically speed run. So instead of actually waiting, but it's now got to regen so many hit points. Well, so many hit points time delay equals this many seconds. Next, repeat, and do all of that. I'm sure it would help me write some code for that. And so yeah, from that point of view, I did a good thing this week, and it is something that I have been wondering about how to go about doing this for a really long time. It's longer than 6 years, by the way. Ever since I first started playing EverQuest. Because EverQuest was the first game that introduced me as level 1. You don't just instantly get level 1 swording, right? And then you go to a trainer and get level 2 swording. Doesn't work like that. You get a sword, you start with 0 skill, and you wave it around a bit in the hopes that you'll fucking hit something. Even if it's the size of a barn door, apparently you can still miss it. And you never have a guarantee. You are never good enough that you are guaranteed to hit, because obviously your opponent has a defense skill, and if you fight someone who's better at defending than you are at attacking, you are not going to hit all of the time. Moreover, you are not even if you hit them, you might not do damage. And this has always been a bit of a bugbear I have in games, is that for most of us, and I'm sure, should this be you, you would agree to it. If you are doing something, so whether you're throwing a dart at the dartboard, whether you are, trying to hit the ball to the pocket in snooker, whatever it is, right? there is a huge difference between a miss and being ineffectual. So, if you're waving your sword around and I hit you with it, but don't do you any damage, I still hit you. It just didn't do any damage. And most games do not have that as an option. They do not have your damage was ineffectual. They have you missed. And I'm sorry, but when you have, I don't know, maximum skill, i.e. your top level, and you've got maximum skill, now, it may be mitigated by the other person as a defender, who may also be maximum skill at that. But it was mitigated, not you missed. Now, there's always a chance to miss, but when you get to kind of Grandmaster, Graster, Sensei, whatever, right? You do not, Shihan and sort of Master Sufu or whatever, right? You do not expect to be getting misses. You get blocked. You get ineffectuals, not you misses. So my game will have a category for ineffective, which is something I haven't put in entirely yet, but I have the rudimentary areas therefore, which will be that you did actually hit, but you didn't do any damage. And so, because I feel that is kind of a autistic category that needs to be there, frankly. It's a bit like if I throw a fireball at you and you've got immunity to fire damage. Well, it didn't miss. It just did no damage. You know? So that's kind of where that's at. But I did do that this week. So I did do something good this week. It's just a pity that... it's probably about all I did manage this week, actually. I played some game. I did manage to play Ball X Pit. I have now completed all of the initial levels with every character. But once you've got kind of to the end, it is more a bothering than a skill issue, if that makes sense. Because you, like a lot of these games, it's a roguelike almost, so you pick up some skills as you go. So when you first start, you suck, because you do. But once you've completed it, you get additional points, you get levels on your characters, and it becomes easier and easier. To the point now that I can pick any of those characters, even the ones I don't like, because you get a number of little men who chuck the ball down the thing. I can win on any of them. Some of them even play it themselves. Some of them you just sit there and watch, because there's one... Now, there's a few that pick the stuff. So when you get to choose, what ball, what abilities or whatever out of a kind of deck of cards that you want, there's a couple that pick out for themselves. But there's also one who plays the game for you. So you literally just sit there and wait. And you can't play the game. It does the whole thing for you. So, I actually don't like that one much because it picks dumb decisions in my eyes. But, yeah. So I've got a few skill things that my skill chunk will go into. I'm going about writing some test cases about it, which is what I was doing before stream. Only that sucks donkey balls. Oh dear God, is that painful? You have no idea how painful that is. I honestly cannot tell you how painful writing test cases in Unity is. But there we go. However, that's what I was doing, and I will do some more tomorrow, I think. But yeah, so I have been doing something. I haven't just been entirely staring at the walls, but I have been predominantly staring at the walls, because I've not done any of the things I meant to do. So I forgot to put the bins out again this week. As you know, I'm very good at forgetting to do that. I didn't do anything. Oh, that's a shame. I'm not on. I'm at work then. Otherwise, I'd have tried to come. That would have been fun. Um, mm, that's Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, it's Thursday. That could have been fun to go to. Mind you, as a non-social person, I probably would have been. I'm not sure I'm best to go out in society right now. I mean, I did have an invite for some friend of mine to go around, and it's like, dudes, I'm too much of a bitch right now. I'll just stay at home and, you know. And don't get me wrong, they fully understand. They love me dearly. Oh, that's cool. You should go along. You should go along and have a go. And then you can tell me how wrong I am. That's cool. I mean, there was a lace thing near here a little while ago, but it wasn't free, and the people who are running it, there is something about people around here. I don't know what it is. So I told you before. I've explained to the stream before about when I went to the spinning group. Well, as I understand it, the lace makers around here aren't any better. So it is just one of those kind of frustrating portions. So I've just turned over because I heard some weird noise. Oh, dear God, no. I remember that. It's right. All I can do is and it's like, that's not coming out of me. That isn't. Anyway, so yeah, some of the lace people, basically, it seems that first of all, nearly all of the crafty gets-togethers around here happen during the week during working hours, which is really helpful for those of us who work for a living. But also, many of the people who have chosen to run them are narcissists. That's the nicest way I can put it. And so it's basically to stroke their ego. It's not about helping anyone. It's not about camaraderie. It's not about helping others learn or solve problems they've got. Or no, it's purely there to stroke their ego. And they, yeah. It's quite sad, really, because, for example, I mean, it's a bit out of date now, but, for example, there's a hall near me that was something like £11.27 to rent for 3 hours. Well, at that price, yeah, you could try the thing and, you know, £1 each sort of thing and you've covered it. But yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go and do dog things, because the dog's doing dog things. Yes, you've been quite quiet actually this stream. Well done. Mind you, I got shitty with you earlier, so that's probably why. Oh, hello. Yes, miss. You've been quite good today. Well, while I was on stream, anyway. Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Oh, ha, ha, ow, ow. Jesus, how did that hurt so much, dog? Wow. I know you didn't do that on purpose. It's all right. She stood on my arm, and it was like she'd stabbed me with a knife. It really hurt. Got a bruise on my arm or something. No, but I think I will have now. No, nothing obvious to look at. But gee, God, I've never... It's all right, little one. Just because it hurt didn't mean it was your fault. Oh, that's right, whack me with your ears. Don't know why dogs do that. Come up to you and then whack you with their ears. Yes, you. Yes, madam. So yes, but you have been fed. Do not be telling me you have not. I fed you. I watched you eat it. And it was today. It was not another day. No. And Mr. Paws, you really do need these claws trimmed. Yes, he takes his foot away and runs off. Yeah. Ooh, this clashes with whatever else is on my desktop. Oh. As someone musical, you have no idea how badly this clashes. What is he clashing with? Oh, another advert. God. Stop licking my fingers, little man. But yeah, I shall be back hopefully later today now, as it's now after midnight. But if I'm not, please forgive me. Please do not be mad. I am not giving up. I am just struggling to find, well, joy and motivations at the moment. But I do enjoy talking to you all. So it's just nothing, it's not anybody's fault scenario. Now, I'm going to quickly look, see if there's anybody to hand you off to. I don't know what they're doing. I have no idea what they're doing, actually. Let me go have a look. Hang on. Let me go have a look. Now everyone's playing a game that I normally would send you to. So, well, most of you know where to find me. There's always Discord if you need to talk to me. Check I'm still alive. I have been posting randomly on Discord. But yes, much love to you all, and I do know that you all care that I'm alright, so please be assured that I am alright. I am just really, really kind of out of batteries, and this has been it's not been hard, but it's been hard enough that I know I was right to not rush to do an epically long stream and every day this week and all the rest of it. So, as I'd hoped to do, given that I had the week off. So, I do apologise again for that. But we can count down the working days till Christmas kind of thing. And I shall see you shortly. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.